Hello there. Welcome to a new series that I'm doing. It's basically where I go through a race recap of every CIR league race that we do. Why I'm doing this? Bored. There's no other reason. And basically, what we're going to go through today is a race recap of Nürburgring. So let's get into it. Zombarif lined up on pole pretty easily, to be fair. He beat me and Dominic by 2/10. 2/10. Wow. Just wow. Speaking of which, Dominic lined up in second alongside him on the front row. I lined up in third. Pretty good. It's my second best qualifying of the season, I think. So, not too bad. Tim Schmidt in fourth. He had a pretty good qualifying, considering he's on a controller. And then Ben Morin, one of the championship contenders, in fifth. So pretty decent qualifying. Also, as a side note, going into this race, Zombarif had just a 4-point lead over Dominic, which again is pretty close. Ben was about 15 points behind Reith, I think. So the title fight was definitely still on for him. He just, needed to have a good race. So the race began then. I got a pretty good start. I overtook Dominic at the start. I said start twice. Tim was right up Dominic's arse, and Zombarif got a Zombarif start, which was really good, as normal. Then nothing changed. Going into turn 1 further back, however, Isaac Nilton decided he wasn't going to use his brakes anymore, thus running into the back of Adam Rosinko and then into Ben Morin. Still have a chance, Ben. You still have a chance. And then finishing up sector 1, Zombarif led away by about 6/10 away from me. I overtook Dom because obviously I'm just the better driver. Yeah, pretty much for the first lap nothing else really happened apart from Ben without a rear wing went straight into the wall and was out of the race. And Raymond spun like 2 times, but who cares. Then on to lap 2, Troy decided he wasn't going to use his brakes either and then ran into the back of Yuri, which was fun. And then someone decided, I can't remember which Toyota it was, I don't remember if it was Isaac or Benz, I think it was Isaac, then decided they were going to run into the back of Troy. So that went well. And then a couple laps later, Raymond just barged Benz out the way, albeit it wasn't really Raymond's fault, but oh well, battle for 6th. And then coming up to about lap 9 or 10, Tim was the first one in the race to pit in the Jordan, and then a lap later, Dominic and Reith followed suit. And then a lap after that I did. Although, it has to be mentioned that I did speed in the pit lane by about 10 kilometers. Pretty much nothing else happened until about 10 laps later, when I believe Reith was the first one to pit again, and then it was Dom, then Tim, and then me. Although it has to be mentioned that I lost second place and nearly third because going into the pit lane I forgot to turn my LCD thing, my pit board, whatever it's called. I forgot to turn that off, which means that you can't actually start to pit yet. So I lost about 5 seconds from doing that. Oh, and speaking of 5 seconds, I sped in the pit lane again. I got a 10-second time penalty at the end of the race, but at the time I didn't know. And then coming out of the pit lane, me and Tim were side by side. It was pretty intense, but eventually going into turn 2, I kind of just cut him off and said, no, I'm having third. And then I spent pretty much the next 5 laps trying to catch Dom, but I didn't need to. He looked up going into the hairpin anyway, which just put me into second, which was fun. And then going into the second to last lap, I was about 3 or 2 seconds behind Reith, and I was like, okay, fair play to Reith, he's won this race, he's drove really well. And then halfway through lap 29, I was like, hang on, why am I now 6/10 behind him? This gave me a false sense of security that I could probably win the race. He claims it's brake failure, I claim bollocks. Sorry Reith, that was not brake failure. And then going into the last lap I was 2/10 behind going across the start finish line. So I was like, hey, I'm going to send it into turn 1. but my send was not well thought out, and I outbroke myself. Had I broke just a bit earlier, I probably could have taken the lead and won the race. Benefit of hindsight, I guess. And then for the rest of the lap, I just couldn't find a way through. Pretty much stayed 2 tenths to 3 tenths back, and going into the last corner, I just decided to try a lunge. It didn't work, and I spun. And then I lost second to Dom. I didn't lose third though, which is a benefit. That's something. But it was all in vain anyway. After the race, obviously at the time I didn't know, I got a 10-second time penalty. So whether I took the lead from Reith or not, it didn't matter. And would have finished behind Tim anyway. So my finishing position was gonna be 4th, no matter what. But saving grace is it was my first fastest lap, which is pretty nice. I was going about half a second to a second quicker than everyone else, but hey, you win some, you lose some. And then about 50 seconds behind, Raymond came home in 5th, and then about another 50 seconds behind was Barner Below, who came home in 6th. And he was the last person to finish on the lead lap. Ben Foundinger was a lap down in 7th. Everyone else had crashed. Pretty good race, I think. So then, what are the championship standings? Zombarif leads by 8 points over Dom. Zombarif on 55 and Dom on 47. Ben Morin is still quite a long way back and is still on 30 points after, well, not finishing the race. Tim in 4th on 23 points. Barner Below in 5th. Barner's been really consistent this season, and you know, hats off to him. And Adam Rosinko is in 6th with 16 points. Myself, wow, I moved up a place. No way. I finished a race and scored points. Anyway, I'm in 7th, Raymond behind me on the same points, and James Early, who sadly doesn't compete in the league anymore, is behind me, and then so on and so forth. No one cares about everyone else. And then the constructors standings then. McLaren Mercedes lead by 4 points over Arrows. That's something I thought I'd never say. Ferrari firmly in 3rd after literally being the most consistent team in the world. Hats off to them. Sauber realistically should be ahead of them considering the results they have. And I guess Ben is by himself now, but no excuses. And then Jordan in 5th, again being carried completely by Tim. Renault in 9th, again being completely carried by me. And then Williams, Minardi, Toyota, Jaguar. So then, what to take away from this race? Well, I probably should have won. Probably should have. I was probably the quickest person on the track throughout the whole weekend. Qualifying, should have done better. There was still a 10th or 2 in that lap. And I should have won the race. But I can't, because Reith is an arse. But, I mean, consolation is I got fastest lap. So, you know, not all bad. Fastest lap means bollocks. But anyway, that's going to be it from me. Tell me, what do you think of this series? Should I kill myself? Should I carry on? Or should I just stop YouTube altogether? Let me know in the comments. I'm doing this because I'm completely bored. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace. So, whether I took the lead from Reith or not, it didn't matter. I would have come behind me. Whether I got the penalty or not, it didn't matter. Whether I won the race.